Today I'm going to show you how to fix a leaking bathtub faucet stem valve. This one is leaking pretty bad. It's not just a drip, but a continuous flow of hot water. Here's a picture of the replacement valve that I bought at Ace Hardware for $16.99 and a picture of the old valve. The first thing is to shut the water off at your home. The next thing I always do is place a towel down onto the tub. If I drop a metal tool or a screw, it prevents the tub from getting chipped. Now I'm going to start the disassembly process. I'm starting with a plastic decorative H, removing that, and then I'm going to remove the screw. One thing I do before I start any work is to close or push down the drain stopper. If I drop a screw or other part, it prevents it from going down the drain. So taking the handle off takes a little force, especially if it's been on there for many years. Just give it a little wiggle and pull really hard. The next step is to remove the decorative tube around the valve stem. Just twist it with your hand. No tools necessary. This is the valve stem that I'll be removing. Now I'm going to use a valve stem socket wrench that you can pick up at Harbor Freight for $10.99 or $17 at Ace Hardware. Once you get the right size, just slide it over the valve stem. Use this leverage tool and it should come off pretty easily. Since the valves are made of brass, they typically don't oxidize very much, so it shouldn't take too much force to remove it. Now I just unscrew it and take a look at the end rubber washer to check for damage. I actually replaced this rubber washer only a few months prior, and it quickly started leaking again. If you find this video helpful, please click on the subscribe button. So I'm suspecting that the valve seat is damaged. To replace the valve seat, you use a two-piece stepped and tapered faucet set wrench. The brand I use is called Superior Tool. You just slide it in and crank on it. The valve seat came loose quite easily, which is always a relief. It took quite a few turns to get it out. Now I'm going to check to see if there's any damage to the. If you look at the bottom, you can see the chunk is missing from the seat. No matter how hard you twist the faucet handle, it won't shut off the water flow because it was leaking through this big gap. Now I'm going to install the new valve seat. First, I want to spread a generous amount of pipe joint compound onto the threads. This is basically liquid Teflon tape. You want to apply this because once it's in the wall, you have no idea if it's leaking, and if it leaks, you're going to get some bad dry rot. Before I install the new seat, you want to make sure the threads in the wall are free of rust and debris. I first use my fingers to check for debris. Then I use a rag and twist it inside the threads to remove the debris. Now I just slide the valve seat coated with the pipe joint compound onto the tool and carefully place it into the wall. You want to make sure that you don't touch the valve seat to the tile or the wall because you may pick up some debris which could get wedged in threads and cause a. You want to gently turn it. If you run into any resistance, you want to back off and pull it back out because you may be cross-threading it. It took quite a few turns, but it went in smoothly. When you get to the last turn where it starts to get difficult to turn, I just go a little bit beyond hand tight using the lever arm. If you tighten it too much, you may strip the threads and that would be bad. Now I'm going to look inside to get a visual confirmation that it's installed correctly. which it is. It's nice and flush and not crooked. Now here's the new valve with the old one next to it. You want to make sure the black washer is in place because it helps to seal it and prevents water leaks. I'm using a waterproof grease. I'm going to put the grease all over the threads. I call this the yoke of the valve. The purpose is to ensure the stem turns easily for many years to come. Then I went ahead and screwed it back in loosely. Now before I screw the entire faucet stem valve assembly into the wall, I want to apply the joint compound onto the threads. Again, this will prevent water leaking into the wall. If this leaks, you will never know. Again, you want to put the valve into the wall very slowly because you don't want to bump the wall and pick up any debris that could get wedged between the threads and cause a leak. When you turn it, it should turn nice and smoothly. You don't want to strip the threads. I just hand tighten it first, and then I grab the socket wrench. Of course, initially I grabbed the wrong size and I had to switch it out for the correct size. I got the lever arm to add a little torque. It doesn't take much because there's a rubber washer that helps seal it. You don't want to over tighten and strip the threads. That would be bad. I just turn the yoke to make sure it turns easily. The center brass piece that the threaded white plastic tube goes onto only has to be tightened a little past hand tight. If you tighten it too much, it'll be difficult to turn the knob off. Now we turn the water back on to the house to see if my repairs worked. I turn the faucet on and then shut it off to see if the drip vanished. It took about 10 seconds and the drip had completely vanished. Now I put the white plastic threaded tube back on. Just hand tight is fine. Next, I put the chrome decorative tube back on, but first I put some 100% silicone around the flange to prevent water leaking into the wall. You can also put some silicone onto the tile just to be safe. It should go on nice and smoothly with minimal resistance, just hand tight. You want to make sure there isn't any gaps between the wall and the flange. Now I put the knob back on, then I install the screw, and finally install the decorative plastic H, and the job is done. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.